This is Max and Mia podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Max and Mia podcast. I'm Max.
And I'm Mia. It's so wonderful to have you here with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us on this English learning journey.
Absolutely. Before we dive in, we want to share something important with you. Learning English doesn't mean you need to pack your bags and move to the United States or any English-speaking country. What you truly need is determination and the willingness to make small, consistent efforts every single day.
That's right, Max. These small daily steps might seem tiny now, but they create enormous changes in your future. However, let's be honest about something. If you really want to learn English, or any language for that matter, spending just 5 or 10 minutes a day simply isn't enough. That's a myth we need to break today.
Exactly, Mia. If you're serious about mastering English, you need to make it a part of your daily life, not just a quick task you check off your list.
Now, let's talk about something many of us experience. Sometimes when we're learning a new language, we feel stuck, like we're not making any progress at all. We start asking ourselves, how can I actually improve my English? Sound familiar?
It definitely does. That's exactly why today we're going to explore how you can enhance your English skills through simple daily actions. These might seem small, but over time, they'll make a tremendous difference in your English learning journey.
Throughout this episode, we want you to practice something called shadowing. For those who aren't familiar with this technique, shadowing means listening to English and repeating what you hear almost simultaneously. It's incredibly effective because it helps improve your pronunciation, rhythm, and listening skills all at once.
And here's a practical tip. If any word gives you trouble while you're shadowing, write it down in a notebook. Make it a habit to practice that word daily until you feel completely comfortable with it.
With that in mind, let's jump into today's tips. We've prepared strategies that will help you improve in all 4 essential areas of English learning: listening, speaking, reading, and writing.
So, are you ready to transform your English skills? Let's get started. Our first tip is all about active listening, and this is absolutely crucial for your English development. Now, when I say active listening, I don't mean putting on English content in the background like you would with music. I'm talking about conscious, focused listening where you're genuinely trying to understand every word and phrase in context.
That sounds intense, Max. What's the difference between regular listening and active listening?
Great question, Mia. Regular listening is passive. You hear sounds, but your brain isn't working to process the meaning. Active listening requires your full attention and mental effort. You're analyzing what you hear, connecting words to their meanings, and trying to understand the complete message. Here's a technique I personally use when learning any new language, and it works wonders. I choose short videos, around 2 to 3 minutes long. This could be anything: YouTube videos about topics you're passionate about, short documentaries, or even clips from TV shows.
Why short videos specifically?
Excellent point. Short videos prevent you from getting overwhelmed or bored. When content is too long, your concentration drops, and you lose that active engagement we're aiming for. Plus, you can repeat the process multiple times without feeling exhausted. Now, here's my 3-step method. First, I watch the video completely without any subtitles. During this stage, I challenge myself to catch every single word I can understand. Don't worry if you miss a lot. This is perfectly normal and part of the learning process. Then, I watch it a second time, but now with subtitles in English. This helps me connect the sounds I heard with the actual written words. You'll be amazed at how many words you actually knew but couldn't recognize when spoken.
And the third time?
The third viewing is with subtitles in your native language. This ensures you understand the complete meaning and context of what's being discussed. It's like putting all the puzzle pieces together. Finally, and this is crucial, I write down any unfamiliar words or phrases I encountered. Keep a dedicated notebook for this. Later, practice these words daily until they become part of your active vocabulary.
This sounds like a comprehensive approach. Any other tips for active listening?
Absolutely. Choose content that genuinely interests you. If you love cooking, watch cooking videos. If you're into technology, find tech reviews. When you're interested in the topic, you naturally pay more attention, making the learning process much more effective and enjoyable. Now let's move on to our second tip, which focuses on improving your speaking skills. We mentioned shadowing earlier, but let me explain it in more detail and share some additional techniques that will transform your pronunciation and fluency.
Right. You briefly explained shadowing in the introduction, but could you dive deeper into how it actually works?
Of course, shadowing is essentially listening to English audio and repeating what you hear almost simultaneously, like being someone's shadow. The key word here is almost because you're following just a split second behind the original speaker. This technique helps you develop natural rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation patterns. Here's how to do it effectively. Start with content that's slightly below your current level. Podcasts, audiobooks, or even YouTube videos work perfectly. Play the audio and try to repeat everything you hear while it's still playing. Don't pause. Keep going even if you make mistakes.
That sounds challenging. What if someone can't keep up with the speed?
That's totally normal, Mia. Start with slower content, or use playback speed controls to slow down the audio to 0.75 or 0.8 speed. As you get more comfortable, gradually increase the speed back to normal. The goal is to train your mouth muscles and speech patterns to match native speakers. Now, here's an additional technique that I absolutely love: voice recording practice. This is incredibly powerful for improving your speaking skills. Here's what you do. Record yourself speaking in English for 1 to 2 minutes about any topic you enjoy. It could be describing your day, talking about your hobbies, or even summarizing a movie you watched.
And then what happens with these recordings?
Great question. After recording, listen to yourself carefully. This might feel uncomfortable at first. Most people don't like hearing their own voice, but it's extremely valuable. You'll notice pronunciation errors, awkward pauses, or words you struggle with that you might not catch while speaking in real time. Here's another speaking technique that works wonderfully. Practice having conversations with yourself. I know it sounds a bit unusual, but bear with me. Choose a topic and literally have a dialogue with yourself, switching between different perspectives or roles. For example, pretend you're interviewing for a job. Be both the interviewer and the candidate.
That's actually a creative approach. Any other speaking tips?
Absolutely. Try reading aloud daily for 10 to 15 minutes. Choose articles, stories, or even social media posts. Focus on clear pronunciation and natural flow. This builds confidence and helps you become more comfortable with the physical act of speaking English. Remember, speaking is a physical skill. Your mouth needs practice forming English sounds, just like your fingers need practice when learning to play piano. Our third tip focuses on one of the most underestimated skills in language learning: writing. I want you to start keeping a daily English journal, and trust me, this simple habit will revolutionize your language development in ways you might not expect.
A journal? That sounds like something from school. How is writing in a notebook going to help with overall English skills?
I'm glad you asked, Mia. Writing is incredibly powerful because it forces you to organize your thoughts, structure your ideas, and actively recall vocabulary. When you write, you're essentially having a conversation with yourself, but you have time to think about word choices, grammar, and sentence construction. Here's what I want you to do. Every evening, spend 10 to 15 minutes writing about 3 things in English. First, describe what happened during your day. Don't just write, "I went to work." Dig deeper. Write about the conversations you had, the challenges you faced, or something interesting you observed. Second, express your feelings and emotions about your day. Did something make you happy, frustrated, or excited? This emotional writing helps you learn vocabulary that's often overlooked in traditional language learning. Words like overwhelmed, thrilled, disappointed, or relieved.
Oh, that's interesting. And the third thing?
The third element is forward thinking. Write about your plans for tomorrow or your hopes for the future. This pushes you to use future tenses and planning vocabulary. You might write about goals you want to achieve, places you want to visit, or skills you want to develop. Here's why this works so well. You're writing about topics you genuinely care about, so you're naturally motivated to express yourself clearly. Plus, you're using English in a practical, real-world context rather than just completing grammar exercises.
What if someone runs out of things to write about?
Excellent question. You can also write about books you're reading, movies you've watched, or your opinions on current events. Describe your favorite memories, write about your family and friends, or even create short stories. The key is consistency. Write something every day, even if it's just a few sentences. Here's a pro tip. After writing, read your journal entries aloud. This combines writing practice with speaking practice, and you'll often catch grammar mistakes or awkward phrases when you hear them out loud. Over time, you'll notice your writing becoming more natural and your vocabulary expanding significantly.
This sounds like it really helps with building confidence too.
Exactly. Writing regularly builds your confidence because you're actively using the language to express your own thoughts and experiences. It's personal, it's meaningful, and it directly translates to better communication skills in all areas of English. Now we're moving to tip number 4, which is probably one of the most transformative habits you can develop: thinking in English. This might sound impossible at first, but I promise you, with practice, it becomes second nature and dramatically accelerates your language learning.
Thinking in English? That sounds really difficult, Max. How can someone switch their internal thoughts to a different language?
I understand it seems challenging, Mia, but here's the thing. You don't need to change everything at once. Start small and build gradually. The goal is to create mental pathways that connect directly to English without translating through your native language first. Here's how to begin. When you're doing everyday activities, start describing what you see and do mentally in English. For example, when you're walking down the street, think to yourself, "The man is walking his dog," "The bus is coming," or "That woman is carrying a red bag." You're essentially becoming a narrator of your own life. This technique is incredibly powerful because it creates instant connections between real-world experiences and English vocabulary. Instead of seeing a dog and thinking the word in your native language, then translating to dog, you're building a direct mental link between the image and the English word.
That makes sense. Are there other ways to practice thinking in English?
Absolutely. Another fantastic technique is naming objects around you throughout the day. When you see a chair, immediately think chair. When you notice a cloud in the sky, think cloud. If you're having coffee, think, I'm drinking coffee from a white mug. Here's what I love about this method. It constantly reinforces your vocabulary in a natural, contextual way. You're not memorizing word lists. You're connecting words to real objects and experiences, which makes them much easier to remember and use. You can also practice thinking about your plans and decisions in English. For instance, I should buy groceries after work. Or, I'm feeling hungry, maybe I'll have a sandwich. Start with simple thoughts and gradually work up to more complex ideas and emotions.
What if someone gets stuck and can't think of a word in English?
Great question. When that happens, don't immediately switch back to your native language. Instead, try to describe the word using other English words you know. For example, if you can't remember umbrella, think the thing that protects you from rain. This forces your brain to work creatively with English vocabulary. Over time, this habit transforms how your brain processes English. You'll start dreaming in English, and eventually you'll find yourself naturally thinking in English without any conscious effort. It's like building a new neural highway in your brain. The more you use it, the stronger and faster it becomes. Let's talk about our fifth tip, which focuses on reading comprehension. Now, reading in English isn't just about understanding individual words. It's about grasping phrases, expressions, and the natural flow of the language. This is where many learners make a crucial mistake.
What kind of mistake are we talking about, Max?
Most people focus too much on translating word by word instead of understanding chunks of meaning. For example, when you see, I'm used to it, you shouldn't think, I am used to it separately. Instead, you should recognize this as one complete expression, meaning, I'm familiar with this, or this is normal for me. This is why I want you to start learning phrases and expressions as complete units. Look for common combinations like, let me know, it depends on, I can't help but, or as far as I know. These phrases appear constantly in real English, and recognizing them instantly will dramatically improve your reading speed and comprehension. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. You need to use authentic, real-world content for your reading practice. Forget about textbooks for a moment and dive into the English that native speakers actually use every day.
What kind of real-world content do you recommend?
Fantastic question. Start with social media posts, Instagram captions, Twitter threads, Facebook updates. These are short, current, and use everyday language. Then move to news articles, but choose topics you're genuinely interested in. If you love sports, read sports news. If you're into technology, find tech blogs. Here's something many people overlook: YouTube comments. I know it sounds unusual, but comment sections are gold mines for natural conversational English. You'll see how people really express opinions, ask questions, and react to content. Plus, you'll encounter slang, abbreviations, and informal expressions that you won't find in traditional learning materials. Another excellent source is email newsletters. Subscribe to newsletters about your hobbies or interests in English. You'll get regular reading practice delivered to your inbox, and the language is usually clear and well-structured.
What about subtitles? Can those help with reading practice?
Absolutely. Subtitles are perfect for reading practice because they're synchronized with audio, giving you context clues. Watch English movies or shows with English subtitles, not subtitles in your native language. This way, you're connecting written words with spoken words and visual context simultaneously. Here's a pro tip. When you encounter a phrase or expression you don't understand, write it down with the complete sentence where you found it. Context is crucial for understanding how expressions are actually used. Don't just memorize, "get over it." Remember seeing it in a sentence like, "You need to get over it and move on with your life." The key is consistency and variety. Read a little bit every day from different sources, a news article in the morning, some social media posts during lunch, and maybe some YouTube comments in the evening. This exposes you to different writing styles, vocabulary levels, and cultural references, making you a more well-rounded English reader. Our sixth tip is all about repetition and constant exposure, and this is where the magic of language learning really happens. Many learners make the mistake of constantly seeking new content, but what they really need is to revisit the same material multiple times until it becomes automatic.
That's interesting, Max. Isn't it boring to consume the same content over and over again?
I understand why it might seem that way, Mia, but here's the fascinating part. Each time you revisit content, your brain picks up different details. The first time you might catch 60% of the meaning, the second time 75%, and by the third or fourth time, you're understanding nearly everything while also noticing subtle language patterns you missed before. Here's my recommended approach. Choose one piece of content that you genuinely enjoy. It could be a 5-minute YouTube video, a podcast episode, or even a song. Then, schedule multiple encounters with this content throughout your day, but in different contexts. For example, listen to the same podcast episode while commuting to work in the morning. Then, during your lunch break, listen to it again while reading the transcript if available. In the evening, try the shadowing technique with the same content. Each interaction serves a different purpose and reinforces your learning from multiple angles.
How does this repetition actually help our brains learn English better?
Excellent question. Repetition creates neural pathways in your brain. When you hear the same phrases, sentence structures, and vocabulary repeatedly, they move from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. Eventually, these patterns become so familiar that you recognize them instantly without conscious effort. Think about it like learning to drive a car. At first, you had to consciously think about every action, checking mirrors, using turn signals, shifting gears. But through repetition, these actions became automatic. The same thing happens with language patterns. Here's a practical strategy. Create a content rotation system. Choose 3 to 5 pieces of content and rotate through them over the course of a week. Monday might be video A, Tuesday could be podcast B, Wednesday back to video A, and so on. This way, you're getting deep exposure without the material becoming stale.
What types of content work best for this repetition strategy?
Content that's slightly challenging but not overwhelming works best. If you understand about 70 to 80% on the first listen or read, that's perfect. Avoid content that's too easy or too difficult. News segments, TED Talks, interviews, or even well-structured YouTube videos are ideal because they contain rich language patterns and vocabulary that you'll encounter in real conversations. Remember, the goal isn't entertainment, it's pattern recognition. Through repetition, you're training your brain to automatically recognize common sentence structures, phrasal verbs, and natural speech rhythms. This is how you develop that intuitive feel for English that native speakers have. And now we've reached our final tip. Tip number 7, which is all about interaction and using English with other people, or even with yourself. This is where all your previous practice comes together and transforms into real communication skills.
This sounds like it could be intimidating for some people, Max. What if someone doesn't have English-speaking friends or opportunities to practice?
That's a fantastic point, Mia, and honestly, most English learners face this exact challenge. But here's the beautiful thing. You don't need other people to start practicing interactive English. You can begin by having conversations with yourself, and I promise this isn't as strange as it sounds. Here's a powerful technique. Start asking yourself questions in English throughout the day and answer them out loud. For example, what did I do today? And then respond with details about your activities. Or ask yourself, what will I eat tomorrow? And plan your meals in English. This stimulates English thinking and gets you comfortable with the natural flow of question and answer patterns. You can also create mini interviews with yourself. Pretend you're being interviewed for a job, or imagine you're explaining your hobbies to a new friend. Switch between being the questioner and the person responding. This builds confidence and helps you practice expressing your thoughts clearly and naturally.
What about practicing with other people? Any suggestions for finding conversation partners?
Absolutely. If you have friends or colleagues who are also learning English, practice together. Don't worry about making mistakes. You're all learning. Set aside 15 to 20 minutes to have simple conversations about your day, your interests, or current events. For online opportunities, there are language exchange platforms where you can connect with native English speakers who want to learn your language. You help them with your native language, and they help you with English. It's a win-win situation. But here's something equally valuable. If you can't find conversation partners, create imaginary conversations and act them out. Pick scenarios you might encounter in real life, ordering food at a restaurant, asking for directions, discussing weekend plans, or even having a disagreement with someone. Practice both sides of the conversation.
How does this kind of practice help with overall English skills?
Great question. Interactive practice forces you to think quickly, respond naturally, and use English in real time. Unlike writing where you have time to think, conversation requires instant access to vocabulary and grammar. This builds fluency and confidence simultaneously. Plus, when you practice interactions, you're learning to use English for its primary purpose, communication. You're not just memorizing rules or vocabulary, you're actually using the language to share ideas, express feelings, and connect with others. Remember, every conversation is practice, even if it's with yourself. The more you use English interactively, the more natural and automatic it becomes. Start small, be patient with yourself, and gradually increase the complexity of your interactions as you become more comfortable.
This has been such a comprehensive set of tips, Max. Should we wrap up with some final thoughts?
Absolutely, Mia. Let's bring this all together for our listeners. So there you have it, everyone. 7 powerful strategies that will transform your English learning journey. Let's quickly recap what we've covered today. Active listening with the 3-step video method, shadowing and voice recording practice, daily English journaling, thinking in English throughout your day, reading real-world content for comprehension, using repetition and constant exposure, and finally, interactive practice with yourself and others.
What I love about these tips is that they're all actionable. You don't need expensive courses or special equipment, just dedication and consistency.
Exactly, Mia. Remember what we said at the beginning. Learning English isn't about spending just 5 or 10 minutes a day. It's about making English a natural part of your daily life. When you integrate these techniques into your routine, you're not just studying English, you're living it.
And don't forget about the shadowing practice we mentioned. Try it while listening to this episode again. If any words were difficult to understand, write them down and review them every day until they feel natural to you.
That's a perfect reminder, Mia. I want to challenge each of you listening right now. Choose one of these 7 tips and start implementing it today. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is now.
Whether you're just starting your English journey or you've been learning for years, these strategies will help you break through any plateau and reach new levels of fluency.
Before we go, remember that language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. Be patient with yourself, celebrate small victories, and trust the process. Every day you practice, you're building stronger connections in your brain and moving closer to your English goals.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Max and Mia podcast. If you found these tips helpful, please share this episode with friends who are also learning English. We're all in this journey together.
And remember, we'd love to hear about your progress. Try these techniques and let us know how they work for you. Until next time, keep practicing, keep improving, and keep believing in yourself.
See you in the next episode, everyone. Happy learning!
Take care and remember, you've got this.